Do, 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 do. Alright. Let's just get this out of the way first. I called it. Hey everybody, Tekking101. Oh, sorry. Hey everybody, Tekking101 here, here to review Bleach chapter number 573, entitled I Am the Edge. Get it? Because his name's also the Edge. Whatever, you get it. Alright, so chapter starts off with a very intimidating as hell color page featuring Kenpachi Zaraki. It's really cool how Kubo got the coloring just right, so like he has black hair, so it kind of just fades into the darkness behind him, and the shading on this guy's face is just so well done. It's like you know that Kubo has not drawn Kenpachi in so long. It's been almost close to, it's probably been over a year since then. So, because after the battle with Unohana, you know, we haven't seen him since then. It went right into Masaki's backstory after that. So it's been a year. You can just tell this entire chapter, he's just like, you know what? There's not going to be much story development. There's not going to be much, you know, expanding upon the plot. Let's throw in like 2 plot points. But for the most part, I just want to have a field day drawing this guy again. And you can really tell that. Because this week's chapter, it's relatively short. Not really a lot is known. We get a little bit more about knowledge about what that kid was, that stern kid from the last chapter. But aside from that, it's mostly just good old-fashioned Kenpachi Zaraki goodness. So let's get right into it. Alright, so chapter starts off with Kenpachi. He's leaning over the freaking roof of the building that he just caved in last chapter. I thought he blew in the wall. I guess he just like stomped, like freaking epic stomped the ceiling out of existence. So he's standing up there, he's staring down. You have to imagine what he's looking at. He's looking at this, you know, random Stern Raider kid dressed in like a raincoat with Yachiru on the ground. Her bones are apparently broken. Isane's in the corner like, the hell's going on? You know, Kensei and Rose are, we don't even get to see them this chapter, whether their current situation is whether they're really dead or whether they're not. We don't really know about that. But anyway, he's looming over them, he's looking down, and Yachiru's just staring on like, oh, Kenny here, Ken-chan, you're here to save us all. Kenpachi, you know, jumps off the roof, lands on the ground. And Isane, the first words out of her mouth are, you know, I guess she collects herself enough, and she just looks over to Kenpachi, and she's just like, oh, you know, Kenpachi, you're here, so that, like, what happened to Unohana then? Because, of course, the last time she heard about Unohana, she and Kenpachi went down to the prison to fight, so therefore he's here and Unohana's not, so what does that mean exactly? And, you know, in this situation, I can imagine Kenpachi's somewhat pondering like this. Oh, shit. Didn't really think much of what to tell everybody of what happened. Okay, let me think here. She went into outer space and fought the alien. No, that's stupid. She's the rightful heir to the Iron Throne. No, that's not until season 5. Yeah, this place looks fun. Yeah, she's dead. Oh, shit, damn it, that's the one thing I was trying to avoid. But regardless of all that, Isane takes it quite well. In fact, she takes it better than quite well. She's actually relieved, you know? She's like, oh, well, that's good, even though Unohana is dead, and that's kind of sucks. But the fact that she's dead means that you must have inherited her name. And Kenpachi's like, yeah, you got that right. And he just, like, raises his sword in an epic fashion, you know, ready to take this guy down. Now, my theory on this, exactly what she means by, you know, like, oh, you took her name. Like, okay, so first of all, this means Isane knew Unohana's all backstory. Like, I didn't... It's kind of question exactly if she'd ever told anybody. Like, everybody in the Seirete was kind of aware who she was, and they were afraid of her, but I never actually assumed, like, they knew her whole backstory, you know? Maybe they were just afraid of her because, well, you know, these other captains are afraid of her, so us underling Soul Society soldiers, maybe we should be afraid of her as well. But in this situation, I can only ponder one moment of a connection between Isane and Unohana. I'm sure there's been others, but there's just one occasion that happened in this series that my mind called back to, and that was right at the end of the Soul Society arc when Isane wakes up from having a dream of everybody being in an Arabian motif, or maybe not. Anyway, she gets up out of the dream, and she said she's had a nightmare, so she goes over to Unohana, who's just kind of lounging outside the barracks, and, you know, she's just like, oh, Isane, you've had a bad dream. It's okay. Come and sit next to me until you've lied down. Oh, thank you, Captain. I'm so relieved that you're here so I can calm down. You know, I've killed countless thousands of people in my life, and I bathed in their blood. I I think I'm gonna go back to bed now, Captain. Yeah, I think you should. Anyway, so we have the stern kid who's standing there amongst all this. You know, he's very polite, if nothing else, but he begins talking to Kenpachi like, oh, you're Kenpachi Zaraki, the Kenpachi from Zaraki, because that's actually, you know, Kenpachi is the title that all the members of the 11th Division have, and Zaraki was actually the 80th district of Rukongai, where he came from, in case you forgot. His name he actually had to give himself because he didn't actually have one. But the stern kid knows about it, which I guess just makes it more sense that they know all about the Seirete. You know, they clearly have an in of everything that's been going on. The same thing how Hashwolf knew that Shunsui was the 1st Division commander, so it doesn't really surprise me that much. Anyway, the kid strikes a very creepy-ass smile and just says, oh, you're here, and you're strong, just like I imagined, that is. So, yeah, we get the title page, and wait a second, hold on. You know, I said this guy looked like a cross between Yuki and Uzen from Mandaka Box last chapter, but, you know, now that I'm looking at him in this different life, I don't know, like, hold on, let me just put this PSP right in front of him, and holy shit, it's Yukio. You just add a couple of more seasonings of crazy. So, yeah, he activates his ability, which we're still completely unaware of, that pretty much transforms the entire room. I mean, it basically takes the ground and the surrounding area and, like, lifts it, like, a couple stories into the air, which kind of forms this makeshift stage or arena, and which this is what the kid's intention was. He states that the stage is finally set for you, Kenpachi Zaraki. This arena should hold the grace of such magnificence. Really, kid? Really? This is your idea of a magnificent stage? I mean, listen, I've been around the block of anime and manga in a while, and I've seen some pretty more badass arenas than this piece of shit right here. I mean, hell, even the freaking arena from the Cell Games arc of DBZ looked more elaborate than this. It's just, I took the ground and I raised it a couple of 100 feet. Yeah! That's a magnificent arena there. Anyway, you know, Isane and Yachiru, though, weren't so lucky. They're actually hanging on for dear life, about to be falling off, but I'm sure they're not gonna just fall off the thing and die a horrible bloody death, so I'm sure they're still gonna be around, but it's probably just an act of just to get them out of the way so that, you know, Kenny and this other kid can fight without having a massive freaking bloodbath on their hands, more so than it's going to be. Anyway, he finally begins to state exactly who he is. He is Sternritter V, Gremmy Tomu, or Thomas, I don't know. I have difficulty pronouncing names that end with an X. But yeah, that's the whole called that thing for, because I mentioned last chapter that this kid that showed up there's only 2 chapters of Gwenhale there, the Vanish, or who we thought was Sternritter V. So I'm thinking, okay, we only have 2 chapters of this dude, and he's dispatched so damn quickly, it doesn't make much sense for this to be an actual Sternritter, like on the level of Basby or Kangdu. So either he is the weakest fucking Sternritter in existence, or there's something else going beyond here. And from the last chapter, we didn't know a lot about this kid's ability, about Gremmy's ability, but we did learn that he had a power to kind of twist reality, or at least manipulate it in some sort of dream state or illusion sense. So I figured, okay, well, if that's the case, and since we only had 2 chapters of Green Manuel, I kept calling him Green Manuel last chapter. That's the name of the fucking Colonel Sanders Quincy's Volt standing. It's Gwenhale. Yeah, he had Gwenhale dispatched last chapter. I'm like, okay, maybe this kid is the real Sternritter V, and his power is just to create anything, and he just manufactured Gwenhale to kind of do some recon for him, just to see what's going on, or kind of thin out the herd. Maybe he can just manufacture certain creatures to a degree. Certainly would make a lot of sense. So he states, yeah, I am Sternritter V, the Visionary. He doesn't go into huge detail of saying I'm the real V, or, you know, who that other dude was. He just states who he is to Kenpachi. Kenpachi wouldn't have probably cared anyway. So I don't even know if Kenpachi even saw Gwenhale. Like, did he even see him? Like, then he broke in the roof? Did he see his, like, mangled, bloody, you know, no, it's not even a corpse, you know, like, the Gremmy freaking blew the dude up. He's gone. So I'm pretty sure Kenpachi never even got a look at him. But anyway, so he states that I am the Sternritter V, and I honestly think that there's no other Sternritter stronger than I am. Yeah, I think you might be a little touch off base there. It's like the freaking Espada, you know? That's like Grimjow going around saying, I am the king, there's no one stronger. Dude, Isane. And that's like, Noitora going around like, I am the strongest, the absolute strongest. Once again, dude, you're ranked 5. You have a 5 tattooed on your freaking tongue, okay? You're not the strongest. Same thing with this dude, okay? Because if Gremmy was the strongest and his power really had the ability to just imagine anything, here's how this freaking Quincy invasion should have went. Holy shit, the Vandenreich city's rising out of the Seirete! It's become a Vandente of sorts! Ah yes, we've invaded the entire Soul Society. Well, go to it, Gremmy. Alright, everybody's dead. Yeah, that that would have really been a really impactful ability. Hell yeah, you would have really been the strongest Stern Ritter in that situation. Yuha Bach is just your freaking puppet in this situation. You are a master marionette, Gremmy kind kid, sir, whatever the hell you are. Anyway, Kenpachi's not having any of this and just says, "You don't say," and one of the many awesome full-page spreads of the chapter, and just launches an all-out attack on the kid, which doesn't even really damage his raincoat. He states that, "I thought I explained it already." Oh well, I'll tell you again. I can turn all my fantasies into reality. Oh, by the way, did you go watch that DYE fantasy video? It's fucked up, isn't it? You got the Cthulhu thing, and it all starts out normal, and that girl, you know, she's in the pool, and then all of a sudden she pops out, and there's that freaking, you know, alien monster that's, like, raping that girl. It just... You really should look it up if you're not going to make any sense of what I just said. But anyway, he states that I can make fantasies into reality, therefore I can just make myself harder than steel, and then the second that kid says that, Kenpachi just proceeds to continue the attack and just cuts straight through the dude, you know, and like severs his freaking arm, essentially. And Kenpachi's like, you gotta love him, because he's like, you gotta understand, I don't care about your power, okay? If you want to say you're stronger than steel, then go ahead and say it. Then I can just cut you like I would steel. You know? This isn't a very hard equation. Would you just cut over the jabbering and just get to it if that's your power? He drops to the ground, I guess, but I don't think it's in pain or anything. I mean, his other hand, he hasn't even taken his other hand out of the pocket. He's just like, ooh, I lost my left arm. It's just a kind of a minor inconvenience. And Kenpachi's like, oh wait, I thought you would just imagine that I didn't cut you, you know? And he just brings it up like, hey, look, inside all that imagination you have, I don't care if you got like a freaking Disney factory going on in there, there's nothing that you can imagine that I will not cut. Because guess what, kid? I am Kenpachi, and that is my freaking title. So that's the end of the chapter, and like I said, very brief, and you know, it ends with another awesome full-page spread there, and he's just stating, you know, that's my title, I am the Kenpachi, which of course is well, the literal translation of Kenpachi just means sword 8, but the actual title in the context of Bleach means, you know, somebody who cannot die, you know, no matter how many times they're cut, something that can cut anything. So the thing here is, the switch is that he seems very proud of that title. Before, you know, he just said, you know, I'm Captain 11th Division, Kenpachi Zaraki. This time he actually seems to be, you know, honoring that title, because he gained it after killing Unohana. He rightfully, like, Unohana rightfully passed down that title from the first to the last directly to him. So now he's actually like, this is like my one memoriam to Unohana that I'm going to keep with me. I'm going to hold on to this title, which I think is maybe part of what Isane meant at the beginning when he said, did you claim her name? But there's something else that's been going on here, and I have to mention it because at first I wasn't really like buying it as a viable excuse on what Kenpachi Zanpakuto's name is, but now with this chapter and what Isane said, I'm thinking that maybe his Zanpakuto's name is going to be Minazuki. For two reasons here. Number one, of the thing Isane said in this chapter, and number two, we never got to see Unohana's Bankai. That just bugs the hell out of me. Now, like I said, Kubo's not going to reveal every Bankai in the series, but there's a difference between not just revealing the Bankai and revealing the Bankai but doing absolutely nothing with it and then getting killed immediately after. So maybe that's like a thing with the Kenpachis. Maybe they can pass down their sword's name or their spirits, you know, if one of them dies, you know, or you know, she could rightfully pass on the name of Minazuki. I mean, I would be fine with it. It would make a lot of sense. We'd finally be able to get to know what it was. Of course, in that context, we'd finally get to see Kenpachi's Bankai, and I'm the one that's always been saying Kenpachi's never going to get a Bankai, but hey, you gotta call it like I see it, and that's how I see it. So, as for Gremmy, this kid, you know, he just looks on in this last page, and he seems very stoic, he doesn't seem as fun-loving as earlier. He seems a little bit more serious and kind of angry that Kenpachi managed to cut him and kind of mocked his imagination, which I think is rightfully deserved. Honestly, if this kid had the power to just manifest anything he wanted, you know, with sheer infinite possibility of his imagination, you'd think he would have done something a little bit more clever than, ooh, I can make myself a steel-plated raincoat, or I can raise rocks off the ground like I'm a flippin' earthbender. You know, you'd think you would have thrown some other stuff up there just for the sake of distraction, like, oh, there's a flying dragon, oh, there's some sentient cherries, oh, there's a magical refrigerator. You know, look at all this crazy shit just flying around. Kenpachi, you ever see stuff like this? Probably not. You know, just go crazy with it, kid. I mean, if I had the ability to just spawn anything into existence, then, you know, I would go with it. As for limits on this kid's power, because he's the Visionary, so I guess he can imagine whatever. He imagined Gremmy, the Vanish, I guess he just made him, you know, whatever. Here's the thing, though, and Ace brought this up in his last video. There has to be a limit on this. There has to be a cork in the bottle, so to speak, okay? Because, like I said, if this was the case, if he could just imagine anything and just make it happen, then he would have just wished everybody dead, or just imagined everybody dead, all the Shinigami dead, and they would have dropped dead. There you go. Yuha rules the world, you know? I don't think he's the strongest Stern Rider. Maybe his power, you know, like against certain opponents could be considered very dangerous, but with Kenpachi, who clearly, you know, doesn't, like, if it's the case where you actually have to believe it, like mind over matter type deal, like, you know, he was talking to Yachiru, like, your bones are cookies. Yachiru was actually maybe like was reverse psychology sort of thing, where Yachiru was actually thinking about it and that was causing it to crack and break. Maybe that's the initiation of the power. In that case, he's like, my bones are stronger than steel. I'm like, okay, whatever. Kenpachi just cuts it, or maybe he just didn't believe it in the first place. Like, no, there's nothing I can't cut. Then cut. And his resolve is very stoic and, you know, steadfast there. But like I said, there has to be a limit. You know, he can't, even if he can create other living creatures, not just inanimate objects, there has to be a limit. That's all I'm saying. There has to be. And Kenpachi next chapter, I hope we get a lot more of the battle here. Like I said, this was just really, I think, just a fun chapter for Kubo, just to draw him. And, you know, I enjoyed it well. You know, honestly, I'm not going to complain about the length, because honestly, my schedule's kind of filled later today, so I kind of have stuff to do. But that's kind of a good thing. It was kind of a short chapter. But anyway, regardless, next chapter, hope we get some good old-fashioned Kenpachi beat down on the Stern Kid. Gremmy, I'm just probably going to keep calling him the Stern Kid. You know, Gremmy's his name, but whatever. But anyway, hope you guys enjoyed this chapter review. Tekking101 signing out. Called it.